Hi, friends. Presenting you with a get ready with me. It was much requested when I asked you all what would you like to see next on the channel, because I've been enjoying the makeup that I purchased from Sephora's Spring Savings event and other purchases before that. So there hasn't been much new makeup, you know what I mean? I could have done like rankings and stuff. I still think I have to do maybe my top 5 mini Natasha Denona palettes. That could be a thing. But any suggestions, please keep them coming because I need help. All that to say, I just wanted to slap on some makeup while you guys are with me. If you want to put on some makeup too, maybe you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're just hanging out, whatever it is. Thanks for being here with me, fam. So with all that out the way, it's time for you to get in a little closer. That's enough. I wanted to briefly show a side-by-side comparison of Byredo's Remembrance. Oh my god. Okay. It's back in. It's back in. Ooh, but we got eyeshadow on the leggings and we got other stuff happen. You know what? I'm going to take care of this later, but let's try this again. I wanted to show a side-by-side comparison, but we'll have to be very careful as I cannot tilt the palette forward. But there were some similarities. Okay, this is Natasha Denona's Biba palette. A fave, for sure. Rayon, and I think these middle shades here compared to the mattes in Remembrance. So let's swatch Rayon, which is a cream to powder. And the matte here, I'll swatch both from Byredo's Remembrance. One has more of a brown leaning and the other more. So that's more like the rose leaning. This is more of the brown leaning. Yeah, so they have a similar vibe in terms of the undertone. Buff and tone. So buff is more of like this pinky beige moment. And tone, another cream to powder, is like a, I don't want to say it's crimsicle. It's more of like a rosy beige pink, which could be similar to the coral shade here, as well as the beige shade from Byredo. So this is that more coral leaning. And then we have the warm beige matte here. This is a lot lighter than tone, but you could see that when someone was like, oh, that kind of reminds me of Biba, I totally understand. I think one of the main distinctions is the inclusion in regards to Biba of the mustards and the browns, the grays also. So I was inspired to use Biba today because I haven't used it in quite a while. And going through my current favorite complexion routine, again, I went over this during my April favorites when I showed some B-roll of what I've been relying on to tackle the blemishes. First, going in with the newly purchased Lancome. Again, I like to just place some of 350 here on the inner corners of the eyes. And yes, allergies are doing much better. I cannot wait until the season is over because there was a week, fam, where my energy levels were just off. Like, I needed to take naps, okay? My workouts were rough to get through, meaning like exercises and effort levels that I'm usually fine with were killing me. But what's tremendous about completing those tasks is when you feel great, it is great. So I knew I just needed to push and just finish the job, right? I wasn't like looking to lift more, do more reps, do more sets. There were no PRs that week. It was just consistency and doing it when you feel like you don't want to. And I think that sometimes the difference between people who train consistently between those who don't is that those who train consistently don't rely on the exercise or the routine itself to motivate them. Because many people, as someone who trains clients online, who get into this enthusiastically, like they're real ambitious, they want to get in the gym, they want to start working out. This is the forever correct in 4N dotted all around, as you see. And they rely on the program to get them motivated, but like that's gonna end real quick because you can't rely on the exercises themselves to pump you up. Like you're gonna be doing the same lunges, the same deadlifts, the same squats, rows, pulls for a very long time, right? That's why people want to change their program. They want to mix it up because, again, they're trying to look for that pizzazz in the exercises in the program. And no. It has to come from here, okay? You are going to need to do the work. You have to do the work yourself. You can't rely on the exercises to get you pumped up. Like, good luck. Because down the road where it gets tough, like the week I described, when my allergies were on an all-time high and my fatigue was just through the roof, I knew I still needed to do it. Like, I still did the Bulgarian split squats. I'm never motivated to do those suckers. Are you kidding me? I do them because what motivates me to keep going is the investment that I know I am building for myself, for my body, for my life. This is for the future Alicia, right? I want her to be a reinforced body being, a body that can withstand a lot more than someone who is similar in that age range, right? If I fall or trip, I can withstand the fall. I could pick myself back up or just prevent myself from falling in the first place, because we, still training the fast twitch muscles, the fast reaction time, just having a stronger body in case I do get sick, because life happens. And if I happen to be bedridden for weeks on end and my muscles start to atrophy, it wouldn't be as bad if I didn't have a lot of muscle there in the first place, right? So when I think about that, that's what pumps me up. And also, yes, my body has changed a lot. I have a lot more muscle than what I started with. I think it will be a year now going in with Danessa Blurring Balm. A slight tangent, slight makeup tangent. So one of two things I've been doing. As you saw, I applied the Dior pretty much haphazardly all over my face, which is why I adore the texture, because it moves so well, where it kind of acts like a foundation in terms of how I apply it, but not really, because I don't apply like a huge amount. So I could either go in with the 5 on the center of my face, and something I do too, if I feel the Lancome is a little too light, is I just tap under the eyes with any leftover from the Dior to balance that out. Or I could just tap a little bit of Dior here to lessen the brightness a little bit if I wanted. I could go in with 6 all over, or I could go in with 7 on like the portions that I need a little more bronzing, which is something I like to do as well. So what was I saying? June is going to be, I think, my year anniversary from when I started my hypertrophy program that I wrote out for myself. And I started with full body and evolved, I think, after 6 months into upper lower, because I felt the upper lower split was better for me in regards to recovery, because my legs were not recovering well from the full body. I think because I wasn't well adapted to the volume at the time. So now, considering all things, I could go back to full body 4 or 5 times a week. But I like the upper lower. Is actually a full body in disguise, because what I've been doing, and this is very much inspired by a Natural Hypertrophy's channel, if you want to check him out, is basically about hypertrophy, where he combines a lot of upper body movements to the lower body days, depending on, and when you're supersetting like that, it does save time and it does allow you to get a lot more volume in one day. So for instance, yesterday was lower body day, technically, but I did my front squat top sets first. I rested maybe like 3 minutes between those sets because, ooh, they were high intense. For my back off sets, I did pull-ups in between. So the intensity was moderate, which meant that I was able to put out a little bit more and switch the upper lower exercises, right? So you could do that as well if you're short on time and you need to get upper lower in one session. And then when I went into good mornings, I superset good mornings with Lou raises. That's basically you going all the way up overhead and down through the sides. It's like a full range of motion lateral raise, right? Instead of just stopping at your shoulder, you're taking it overhead and back down. So now I'm inspired by Alec Ankiri, who does a lot more athletic power. And, you know, I think it's time for me to implement a little bit more of that. So I've been doing the sled pulls and pushes, the farmer carries, practicing box jumps, which are very hard. I'm so scared of them. If I do it on the soft box, is okay. You know what I mean? But on the wooden box, ooh, I am scared. All right, I have to recreate, okay, the vibe, not the look, but the vibe. You know Malvina, she is featured on Pat McGrath's IG a lot. I just love her, and she was doing Lin Lin's makeup, who is the model in the IG. I'll just put the reel up next to me. The way she fluffed on the bronzer with Rephr 25, because that's the Rephr 25 she's holding. So I want to do that. I got my Rephr 25 right here. I was gonna do this. So we tapped in Danessa's Blurring Balm in number 7. I kind of like what this is doing with Forever's or Dior's Forever Skin 4N because it added a little bit more coverage but not too much and provided some of that bronzy glow without it being like an obvious bronze, but it still works. You know what I mean? What was I saying? Box jumps? Yes. I think people do box jumps for the wrong reasons because they rely on box jumps to like burn calories, to get their heart rate up, to like tone their legs. It's like, no. Box jumps is like a move to improve your, I believe, power. Speed, you could do something else, but explosive power, right? So you really only should be doing like, what was the range? Alec said maybe 3 to 5 or even 5 to 8. Like you're in the singles for box jumps because it is a skill also, and you're trying to nail that explosive power in every rep. Not go up, down, up, down, up, down to get your heart rate up and to like, again, sculpt your legs. No, you use lunges, squats, RDLs, Bulgarian split squats to shape up them legs, all right? Leg curls, all the leg things, right? Box jumps, you want to improve your explosive power, especially if you're an athlete or if you're one to just, again, train that fast twitchness. That's what you do box jumps for. Okay, so I'm trying to do more of that and not be a little wuss. We shall see. We got to go in with Bronze Divinity, the terracotta bronze. Yes, I gotta label them. Let's do. I'm so excited. I'm gonna be Malvina. The way she just effortlessly tosses this on Lin Lin's skin. This is a great brush for the Divine Bronzer formula because it's so fluffy. It just kind of, ooh, that's nice. Ooh, I like that. On top of the Danessa. Very nice. Shiseido's Radiant, hold on. The Shiseido Synchro Skin, Invisible Silk. I could use the puffer in here. I think it's nice to get a little more of that powder on. Press and roll, shall we? Yes, yes, yes. Also, on the brows, since I feel it lends itself for better eyebrow edge. The vocabulary today, Alicia. It's interesting. I love the Shiseido powder. And one of you has said that they can't find it. I guess it's discontinued. I don't know. I failed to look on the Shiseido website. Do they even have it on the website? It's on the website. Add to bag. There it is. You could get it either in the matte or the radiant. So I will make sure to link this not only this video, but in my April faves. I'll update that link because I don't think I have one there since I couldn't find it in another retailer. So, all right, it's brow time. 3.5, Benefit Goof Proof. By the way, Benefit just wrapped their 30% off. Like I said, when filming the Sephora video, you know, sometimes it's just best to be on the lookout for the brand sales. Although I do recognize, especially if international, where Sephora just has the better deal in regards to the shipping situation. You know what I mean? But my brow routine has not changed. It's just this pencil. I can't seem to get away from it, even with the introduction of so many different brow products. You know, I think they released like a goof proof powder. I guess the appeal behind the powder is that it will deliver a much softer look and perhaps beneficial if you are on the lighter part of the spectrum, like if you got them light brows. But I just can't seem to stop using my goof proof. It gives me the right amount of color. And you know, Danessa, our girl, is the genius behind the brow line in Benefit. From Benefit, I should say. I have not caved and purchased another blurring balm, powder flushed. We're staying strong. I do thoroughly enjoy Jubilee. That is a fantastic color. I know Golden Hour is beautiful also, but I'm quite happy with my Phytosurgence blushes. Those shades give me so much life, and it's like no matter which ones I apply, it's always a delight to use. Like once they end up on my face, you're like, yes. All right, that side is done. I always this side always is kind of thing is like my crossover side, which could be a little weird. When that happens though, I rarely do this, but I think I brought that too low. I'll just take some of my Lancome with a flat brush. We want to be precise here in carving out the arch. I'm gonna bring it, there we go. Oh, yes, now I feel like I gotta do it on this side. I haven't done this in a long time. This is a back, you know, when beauty YouTube getting all crazy with the light concealer under the eyes and the baking, just overly made up carving out the brows. It just looks so like just too much, like overly glam. But I understand there's a place for this, you know, like now when I had to do a little cleanup. But it was just a little bit of concealer. Like I didn't put a whole rainbow of it down. You know what I mean? Because that does provide a little bit of highlight also. So I think you have to dose the amount carefully. Otherwise, it can appear too much. Like just whoa. For blush, again, we have so many options here. The Jubilee, we have Ember, yes, from Phytosurgence. What else do we got? Inferno. This Inferno, compared to the Jubilee, it's a hard toss up. They're both great. Inferno, I think, has a little more red. This is the Celestial Ceremony Eyes. I thought I had another one. Smolder. Smolder I love. It's so unexpected because it's so muted. But, ooh, okay. So excited. Let me grab. Is this my classic base? It sure is. I like to tap and then buff on the back of my hand. And then start on the center. I love this color. This is the perfect Biba color for blush because it's virtually like this kind of the same as that middle row, you know, that beigey type of a thing going on, but it just serves the right amount of flush. I think it's such a unique color. It kind of reminds me of Melt's Sandy Cheeks, but Sandy Cheeks or the cream blush lights are a little more emollient, and this has a little bit more of a soft matte finish than the cream blush lights. So good. And you could always have your foundation brush on standby, which, by the way, someone had asked for before. The Makeup Forever 109 because it just wraps the skin so well. You know what I mean? And for highlighter, I've just been using Pat's highlighter stick. In terms of portability and ease of use, it's just so 1, 2, 3. I just tap golden here on the cheekbones. Yes. Oh, and also, because to keep up with just, you know, physical fitness, I try to run a mile like twice a week to make sure that I don't die, that I'm still breathing well, and it's not hard, right? Again, it's just allowing your body to adapt, because it could do it. It's capable of a lot of things. I do think we shortchange it. We just get into this mind state of like, oh no, it can't. Like, no, it can. It just needs to be given a chance to learn and to condition itself to take on that stimulus. And it's not like the first time you're going to do it, like the first time you're going to lift, the first time you're going to run, I would just start power walking and then maybe jog, walk, jog, walk. There will have to be a little bit of adaptation that you allow your body to undergo. And it's only natural, right? Because it's unfair for it to do something that you haven't introduced to it in whatever time. And then all of a sudden you're like, run this much. It's like, excuse me. So take your time. That's why it's important to keep track of your progress, of how you're feeling during your workouts and all that stuff, because that is data for yourself to keep track of, where if you're looking to progress, you know that you are, because you clearly see where you started and where you are now, right? That's what I think is one of the biggest sources of motivation, is to see your own timeline, where you started, right? And now where you've arrived, not only in how much you're lifting, but also how you treat the circumstances in your life, where before you would have just skipped workouts and now they've become non-negotiable. You learn to edit your workouts. If you don't have time to do the whole hour, you could do half an hour, and you've now kind of finessed what exercises to choose for you to do that. So there's a lot of changing taking place. You have to kill the old person that you used to be and give it all to the new person, because that's what happens. You change, and you realize that there are certain things that you used to do, that you would decide on, that you don't anymore, because you're not that old person anymore. I feel like I need to stay here to match Smolder, but maybe we could do Beth. Let's do Beth. This is the Mizuho. Oh, the number's not on here. I also use Danessa's primer. I do like the primer. Of course, when I'm not removing and putting on over and over again. So it works for this. It works for this video. When I think back to the person I used to be, it's kind of crazy. I remember those times that I skipped workouts because I was tired, I didn't have the energy, and it was mainly because I wasn't feeding myself correctly. I was snacking a whole lot and not prioritizing meals, and the meals that I did have were low in protein, so I wasn't getting enough of that, wasn't as satiated as I thought I was. And once I changed that, my goodness, in terms of energy levels, increased drastically. I don't have those lulls. And if I do have those lulls, I don't reach for a snack. I go out for a walk, or I'll do a little stretch routine, right? Because that surge of like, when you eat something like a protein bar or a cracker or even fruit, maybe not so much, although I rarely eat fruit standalone. I usually always have it with something. That's just your brain going like zip from the refined flour and sugar. There's no energy, because for you to extract that energy, it has to be digested. So when people eat that and they feel that zip right away, it's not from the food. It's the response from your brain. Once I learned that, and of course learn how to prioritize protein in my food and eat a lot more of that, and just nutritiously in general, I started to see the shift in me not snacking as much, now none at all. And if I do have that dip, I don't have much coffee. I do have my cortado, which I have to take a break from because my eczema did come back. I don't know if it's because I reintroduced espresso back in. I wanted to run an experiment and see if that was the cause, or when I had said it was the caffeine, maybe it was something else. But when I took that out, that was the one thing that made the most potent impact in me not having to itch or it not being as flared up. Pasha. So it started to come back, but it came back with a vengeance during allergy season, where it was not only my skin was itching, but my goodness, my eyes were itching so bad that I wasn't sleeping well. The sneezing was relentless, the blowing of the nose. So it was kind of hard to tell whether it was the caffeine this time or my, the autoimmune response was just on one this time around because of the just bad allergy season we've been having every year. It just seems like it's getting worse and worse. The one thing though, however, since I did not rely on topical steroids this time, I just kind of waited it out. Although it itched, there was no oozing, none of that stuff. So that's good. Although still, we like to lessen the itching, so I'm trying to also lessen my caffeine intake. All that to say, I don't have a lot of caffeine in my system, which does help maintain even energy levels, because what happens with caffeine is when you consume it, it has, I think, the same receptor as adenosine. Adenosine is the one that makes you sleepy. So when you first wake up, adenosine is still floating around because you're just starting to rise up. And that's when people get their first cup of coffee in. So the caffeine latches onto those receptors. And after a few hours, they start to go away. But the adenosine from that morning is still around. So it's like, oh, receptor time. Let's go lock it in. And that's what makes you sleepy. You're like, oh, I need another cup of coffee. And that's a really bad negative feedback loop. So that's the reason why people have a hard time getting off of it, and why it could make you feel like you have that dip of energy in the afternoon also if you rely on caffeine. So if you rely on caffeine, if you rely on snacking, it's a really tough cycle to get out of. But once you, I think, have the knowledge and the understanding of what's really happening, you'll be more informed to make the best decision for you in terms of trying to get out of that. And that's what happened with myself. And it was just beyond freeing, right? Because it's tough when you undergo these symptoms and you don't know the physiological reasons, like the mechanisms why. And when you do learn about them, and this is something I help my clients understand as well, we're going in with, you know what? We're crossing over. I think I want to go in with this color. When I discuss that with my clients and they finally understand what's going on, they feel encouraged and empowered also to make those decisions to just get out of that hole, right? Because it is like feeling stuck and feeling like you can't get out and you can't change. But we all have the capacity to, and it's, again, just giving ourselves the opportunity to try, right? Try something else, because obviously what we've been doing hasn't been working. So we gotta do a little shift. This is very cool tone for what I have. You know what? Actually, it's fine. Maybe I'll do a little bit of an overlap. I'm taking the coral, yes. I just placed it over the bronze color. It's this color here. Right here. That's the reason why I love these textures, is because you can layer them and it's not going to be a disaster. So with that said, when I think back to during the afternoons, especially when I was teaching a lot more, where you just have these huge pockets of time during the day, usually during the afternoon, that's when the energy levels can be a little schizo, right? That you just get that drop. And I would think, oh, I just needed a latte, or I needed an acai bowl, or I needed a protein bar or something. It's like, no. But because I conditioned my body and my brain to consume those foods, my brain specifically would send out signals for me to have more of that, right? When it was getting a little like, Now I wouldn't dare have caffeine afternoon. Going in with a pink metallic from Remembrance, I think my cutoff time right now, latest, 9 a.m. Because after that, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Like, trouble ensues. Because I think caffeine stays in your system for like 8 hours until it clears out. So 9 for me is a good time. If I wanted the coffee for taste, right, it's a moment for me, sure. But after that, ooh, you better wait till the next day, young lady, if you ever think about having more caffeine. So that's what I've been doing, and it has been working well. And also, I noticed too during the afternoon, even if I go into the gym like low energy, once I get started, it's a wrap. Like, we're here, we're doing this. And I also discussed this on Instagram about cycle syncing, and I think it's just overblown and over exaggerated, where women should just, chill out every 2 weeks, because that's where you're in your luteal phase, progesterone rises, estrogen drops, you're not as energetic. But that doesn't mean that estrogen is not present, it's just lower. So when you hear that and, you're like, oh, that's why I'm feeling tired, and you do yoga, you do Pilates, you do something like more low key, and if you were on a weightlifting program, you wouldn't do those exercises. And I think that's a huge mistake. And this is why consistency is key. You don't have to break records during your luteal phase, although there are a lot of women who during that time hit PRs, was killing it. So it's hard to really pinpoint what to expect, but to just automatically say, oh no, I'm gonna relax. Yeah, you can relax, but you should still train. Especially if squats and deadlifts are in your program. I think technical skills that should be practiced as often as possible. Look, if you pulled or pushed the same weight you did last week, you didn't add any reps, you didn't add any sets, that's fine. At least you still go to maintain, right? It might not feel as energetic, or it might not feel like you're getting anything done, but let me tell you something. You are. Because accumulatively, if you didn't train every 2 weeks over the course of a year, that's a lot of training you missed out on. A lot. Just because you were feeling a little less energetic or what have you. And I get it. If you undergo severe symptoms and you're dead to the world, okay. Also know, I said this on my post as well, a lot of those symptoms are linked to what you eat, and people don't want to hear about it. They're like, Alicia, sometimes it doesn't have to do with what you eat. No, I'm pushing back on that. You think fibroids and PCOS just come out of nowhere? It just happens. You just unlucky. Incorrect. It is incorrect. So when you look at the correlation, and yes, not everything that's correlated is caused, but the literature now points to a very strong connection between what you eat and the severity of symptoms during what we call the PMS week. And it's funny that a lot of these foods that we're encouraged to eat, chocolate, popcorn, the hyper palatable foods that are nutrient deficient and just do nothing for us, are the ones that exacerbate these symptoms. And we just automatically go there. It's like, first of all, we need to feed our bodies nutritious food for it to heal and to grow and to maintain. Chocolate ain't gonna do that. All the antioxidants, you ain't getting much antioxidants from the chocolate in the first place, because you would need to eat a bunch, which you're not doing anyway. So the whole antioxidant argument is flawed. Unpopular opinion. You can still have it, But to say that is because of the antioxidants is silly, in my opinion. Again, the amount you would need to consume is far more than will be recommended in the first place for it to do anything substantial or significant. And I'm not saying not to have it, but that's the excuse people use. People say that about caffeine as well. Like, caffeine has all these benefits. I'm like, listen, man, if overconsumed, it makes my skin itch, so no thank you. I think chocolate too. Chocolate is high in salicylates, which is a compound that could exacerbate eczema and psoriasis symptoms. So it really all depends on the person, right? Like, sometimes a food can't be consumed just because of that person's allergies, autoimmune issues, what have you. That's why you have to experiment. And that's why you got to take this data down. Like, remember what you ate, what you didn't eat, how you reacted. There's a lot of stuff going on that's so nuanced. But back to the PMS issue, again, if you look at what you're eating and the severity of your symptoms, I guarantee there is a connection 100%, especially with fibroids linked to insulin resistance, also PCOS linked to insulin resistance. And you could read all the comments from women when they change their diet, the fibroid shrink or the PCOS symptoms lessen, right? This isn't just like magic. It's your body telling you that there's a problem and you have that solution. You're capable of making that change, but it's tough to make a change when we are addicted to certain foods 100%. It's hard to get rid of the things that we love. But when you truly look at it, meaning big picture, is it really happiness if you don't truly have your health? If you're not in control of your cravings, right? If you're hangry all the time, or you're hangry when on certain points of the day, that's not happiness to me. We have a lot of tools in our hands to make small differences that will overall result in, again, having balanced blood sugar levels, mitigating the severe symptoms of PCOS or any other symptoms that are linked to insulin resistance, right? Because it all manifests differently in us. We have the capabilities, and that's what I, again, help with my clients, because it's tough when you're just bombarded with so much information. You just need someone to narrow it down for you, which is what I try to be for them. But this all came from learning on myself, because no matter how many books I read or how many YouTube videos I've seen or what have you, I needed to experiment on myself. And that's not to say that I'm going to impose what I've done for myself on my clients or my friends or whoever asks me for advice. You know, I just have a better perspective, right? I understand now why things happen the way they do, the cause, right? Because we now just love to take care of the symptoms. We just want to get rid of the headache. We want to get rid of the heavy periods, the cramps, the fatigue, the moodiness, anxiety. We just want to get rid of those symptoms, but we ultimately have to address the root cause. And one of the main root causes, again, is your nutrition, and also your sleep, your stress management, at some length, your fitness too. It plays a role, right? Lifting weights is very helpful, especially in trying to build that resilience. I know there's another narrative out there where if you are experiencing high cortisol, that is not recommended that you lift. The high cortisol spikes that one experiences in lifting is dose. Like, it's like you're giving a little bit of dose. You're in control of it versus the chronic stress that one undergoes, like they read a upsetting email or something happened. The stress response is a little different. So when you can dose it, you actually help yourself condition your mind to better handle, to better manage that interaction, that exchange. So that stress you experiencing when lifting weights, I think, is tremendously helpful in just getting that grit helping you get through those tough times in your life that could really uptick your stress levels. But that's okay too. Listen, if you want to do something else, that's fine. But again, anecdotal. When moments I would be super reactive or just like upset or like meh, I just process it and I'm like, okay, cool, let's go this way. And I truly think it's from the lifting. And there's some things, do I want this color? I think I want the other color. Where did I put Slip? We're gonna keep this on, but I'll apply some else on top to make it a little more brown. And the fact that I can take on more, that I don't get as riled up, because I used to get real riled up with some stuff that's like, are you okay? Ma'am. So that is a huge transformation that I saw from myself, right? And I'm not saying I'm going to be calm for all things, because, you know, I might encounter something in my life that's going to hit me from left field and it's going to be like, oh man. Again, I'm building the resilience and the conditioning now, because if that happens, like Edna from The Incredibles says, luck favors the prepared. When I'm putting in the work now, I'm sure it will serve me in some way in the future. That's, I think, what's tough about, again, consistency and sticking with something that maybe you cannot see in front of you. Something like grit, something like working hard and just kind of building up that brick within yourself. You don't really see that. It's something that you experience. It's something that, a situation where, similar to what you might have experienced before, you now treat differently. You react differently to it, and you realize, this is what all my work has been doing. This is what led me to make this decision. This is what led me to treat this differently, right? It all comes into fruition at some point. And while I understand we want to see that, we just want it to manifest into something that's tangible. It might not be, but you just have to know it all adds to something. It's like, you know, the 401k, whatever, that you just got to keep adding to, you know, it's going to help you in the future. That's what we're adding to our 401k. And I feel that's what lifting does for me and for a lot of people, right? So this is a completed look. I applied Suqqu's lip wrapping treatment in 02, the caramel brown color. And I do agree with my friend Patricia, who compared to the Lisa Eldridge Gloss Embrace, I do think the Suqqu is a superior product. The Gloss Embrace is great, but in terms of longevity, a little longer, but I like how my lips feel after the lip wrapping treatment phase versus the Lisa. I feel my lips are more conditioned from the Suqqu than Lisa's lip embrace. Personal opinion, personal experience, you could let me know down below what your experience has been, but I just love how it feels. It's just so silky. And of course, over Merit's signature lip in Baby, it was very pink, and I have Slip as well, which is more brown. I think would have been a little better of a match with what we got going on in the face and the eyes. This kind of brought it all together. So we like that. So here are some close-ups of the final looks. And thank you, fam, for just joining me today, hanging out with me, listening into the conversation, as I love to have with many people. And yes, I know everyone doesn't want to talk about fitness and all these things, but it is my job. It is my main source of income, and whatever I can share to better help you at no cost to you is what I look to do also, right? So if you ever have any questions, you could always reach out to me under the comments on Instagram. I also have consultation calls if you ever wanted to book something with me. Yes, I do have my online program, but it's not to sell you anything. If you're interested in those details, I'll be more than happy to go over them with you. But if you just needed someone to talk to because you feel lost and you're like, what is happening in my life? Then I would love to chat. And if you just wanted to see the makeup, which I love to share. This was a lot of fun. I've been having a blast applying my makeup as of late. You know, having 3 of Pat McGrath's Divine bronzers at my disposal, mixing and matching the concealers, the cream blushes. It has been wonderful. And now revisiting Biba, of course, immediately understanding why it's a favorite. I did cheat a little bit and went into Remembrance because I love the textures of their metallics and their shimmers. They're so soft and like smooth. And with Isom's new eyeshadow palettes, these have been wonderful. So many things to do. If you want to see more Get Ready With Me, let me know down below. Also, I think, yes, I do have to do a ranking of my mini Natasha Denona palettes. I don't have all of them, but I guess I could just still rank with the ones that I do have. Does that sound like a plan? Or any other ideas you have, just share them down below. I'll make sure to read those comments. I'll see you down there, fam. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, Get Ready With Me, fitness chat, or maybe I'll see you over on my membership channel. Take care, and I will see you again soon.